Welcome to The Real News. I'm Jessel Noor. Here in Baltimore, the free alternative weekly, The City Paper, has been purchased by the Baltimore Sun Media Group, the owner of its competitor, the Baltimore Sun. Its 25 full-time employees will be terminated, but can still reapply for their jobs. In recent years, the 37-year-old paper's circulation was in decline, but its print and online circulation still reach about 250,000 people every week. Last year, another Baltimore alternative news source, The Independent Reader, also voluntarily ceased publication. Now joining us to discuss this is Marc Steiner. He's the host of The Marc Steiner Show, which airs on 89.9 WEAA-FM, and president and founder of the Center of Emerging Media. Thank you so much for joining us, Marc.
Good to see you.
So Marc, tell us about this paper, the City Paper, what it represented in Baltimore, and did it serve as the necessary counterpoint, or the counterpoint to the much larger Baltimore Sun, which is known as the paper of Baltimore City?
Well, it's been around for a long time. It started in 1977. It wasn't, I mean, you can't look at it as a counterweight to, or counterpoint to the Sun, because it's a weekly, and the Sun was a daily. But what it did was it told stories about culture, about counterculture, about underground culture in Baltimore. It devoted itself to investigative reporting. I mean, the Sun long ago decided not to invest in the very expensive work of investigative work. The City Paper had two really good, and others, but two really good investigative reporters, Ned Erickson, and they really did some incredible work. That's what they offered: the cultural scene, their investigative work, their humorous pieces, the graphics. It was an alive paper because it was a paper that was built for and towards younger audiences, towards people who were engaged in city life. So it was a very specific thing. Still is.
And, you know, it's said often these days that investigative journalism is in decline or maybe even dead. Why is investigative journalism important in a city like Baltimore? And what does the end of the independence of the City Paper mean for other local independent news outlets, such as your own Steiner Show? You know, there's the Baltimore Brew, and The Real News will be expanding its Baltimore coverage, right? So this is sort of in our interest in a way.
Well, I think that, I mean, when you look at the Sun editorial today, or a couple days ago, that talked about why the healthcare system, the computer system didn't work, and should there be investigations? Well, they could simply have put in that editorial and asked the question. We don't know if there's a link or not, but the group that got the award, Maximus, was owned by a company that's also involved in serving healthcare, is also a company that gave a huge amount of money to the Democratic Governors Conference when Governor Martin O'Malley was the head of that Governors Conference. So without an investigative team, you cannot really unearth what all that means, if it means anything. But you have to have people who can look under that to find out what's going on. That without an investigative newspapers and reporters, that's not going to happen. So it's left to smaller units. It's left to places like Channel 11 on a smaller scale. They do that, but really, what the City Paper did was to take a topic and really figure out why things were going on. And that's very critical to the future. Now, the question is, will the City Paper change, is what you're asking? We can't tell yet. I mean, the Sun has bought it, which means the Tribune bought it, which is a nationwide system. Historically, when group papers like that have bought a small alternative paper, over a period of time, whether it's a year or 2 years, the paper's either been closed or changed drastically. Will that happen here? We don't know yet. Everybody is going to have to put in their resignation. This Friday, they're going to find out whether or not who's been hired back. And we'll see what all that means. I think the editorial staff will be hired back. But, I mean, it's unclear what that means yet.
And you just touched upon this, but this is a trend we're seeing across the country.
Yeah.
Media consolidation. Talk about the ramifications of this for our society and for democracy in America today.
Well, it's horrendous. I mean, you don't have the give and take of a vibrant journalistic system in a city. Things don't get uncovered. Things don't get talked about. Baltimore had the Baltimore Evening Sun. They had the Morning Sun, the News American, the Afro American. All these small community newspapers had the city paper. Before that, there was Harry and some other newspapers that were alternative media in the city. And now we're down to what? We're down to TV stations that don't give generally deep coverage to things, and to the Sun. Now they own the city paper. I mean, the staff thinks it's staying in place. We'll see. I hope they stay in place. There's some good people there. But without a vibrant, competitive system of journalism, people get away with anything they want to get away with. We can't find the kind of news that we deserve.
Well, Marc Steiner, this certainly ups the ante for the ones of us that are left behind.
It does that, doesn't it? Yes, it does.
Thank you so much for joining us, Marc.
My pleasure.
You can follow us at The Real News on Twitter. Tweet me questions and comments at Jessel Noor. Thank you so much for joining us.